Let us enter into the scene of Lussi's night in some typical Scandinavian peasant village. Two horses in the stable enjoy the extra portion of feed that their owner has left for them. He will not be back until December 14th, nor will any member of his family or any neighbor. Indeed, they will not see a son of Adam today, nor be seen by one, for it is the longest night of the year, when all are required to leave their livestock well provisioned, take refuge indoors, and do no work, on pain of a frightful visitation. But the horses in their shed will have other company. They will turn to one another and discuss the curious appearance of the fairies who, on this night, become visible, and they will converse with them, exchanging news of the human realm, so far as they have gleaned during the preceding year. For on December 13th, animals enjoy the ability to understand fairy speech and are endowed with fluency in that strange tongue. On this night, creatures from the spirit world roam near to human habitation, and anyone caught dallying about outside might just get a frightful glimpse of them. It is the year's Sabbath, when none are allowed to work in the Scandinavian hinterlands, where this, the Lussinatten, the Night of Lussi, is observed. And at the head of the supernatural nocturnal revelry is the queen of darkest winter, the year's nadir, Lussi. In truth, she is a benevolent entity, whose work is to ready the portion of the earth to which she is native for the Christmas celebration and, therefore, for the New Year, one day of darkness during which no daughter of Eve treads her walkways and no son of Adam roams his fields, a refreshment for nature to yearn again for her stewards, and for the denizens of fairy fiefs to enchant the streetlights, park benches, or memorial bricks whose magic has faded over the preceding 12 months, and whose upkeep falls to pixies and gnomes. For the pious among the spirit world have an ancient alliance with humanity. Oh, but it has not always been so. There have been times of enmity in which the demonically aligned among the race of fairies have prevailed and tyrannized the human family with superstition and idolatry. In those times, Lussi was known as a terrifying monstress who would snatch up whosoever violated the edict, not to work on the longest night of the year, and especially misbehaving children whom she would spirit away and throw into a scalding cauldron up on a dark, unknown escarpment that no parent would be able to reach in time. Such are the lies of a perverted folklore. So then, how was men's knowledge of Lussi set right again? How was the longest night of the year returned to its true benevolent patroness after the demon interloper had convinced people of her supremacy? It was by way of a foreign saint, as is often the case, for the holy branches in other lands may be brought over and grafted to a sickly tree, causing its sap to again course healthy and true. St Lucia was a lady of the city of Syracuse, a native to the holy island of Sicily. At that time, Christians in Sicily, together with the faithful throughout the Roman Empire, were subject to oppressive decrees, for the Emperor Diocletian was heading up a campaign of religious persecution. Lucia was the heiress of a noble family, but grew up precariously on account of her father's death. Even at a young age she found religion, and knowing of the horrors which afflicted her brothers and sisters, would take what supplies she could carry down into the city's catacombs where Christians hid. In order to avail herself of as much food and as many sheets as might be of use to save lives, however, she attached candles to her head, making a luminous crown of sorts. Thereby did she keep both her hands free for carrying provisions, as she descended down into the cold, pitch-black tunnels where the dead were stored, and the spiritually alive took refuge. During these times of trial, her mother traversed her own cold darkness. For she fell ill, and having little protection, for she was without a husband, endeavored as best she could to arrange a suitable marriage and secure a dowry sizable enough to afford some stability and perhaps medical treatment. Thus was Lucia engaged to a wealthy man, but one much averse to the name of the Nazarene Messiah, and who, in fact, celebrated the repression of them who preached the gospel. Our saintly woman went to pray one day, much afflicted by her mother's sickness, but firm in her devotion, and was granted a vision of Saint Agatha, who told her that by God's will her mother would be healed through faith. Such was the confidence with which Lucia now informed her mother of the glad tidings for her health, that this one was moved to cancel the wedding. The pagan suitor, however, would not be denied, and reported the young woman to the local governor for being a member of the despised new religion, whereupon she was arrested and threatened with being forced into a brothel if she did not go ahead with the wedding. But Lucia would not be yoked to a cruel idolater whose approach to marriage matched the wantonness of the gods he worshipped. Concerning these gods, we may reflect on the demon who corrupted the image of Lussi in Scandinavia, that evil feminine figure whose archetype is the whore of Babylon, and wonder whether it was not this satanic spirit that inspired the jilted man and imperial governor to try and defile Lucia in this manner. In any case, though the governor sent men to apprehend our pious woman, she was somehow endowed with the strength to resist them and not be moved. If she could not be taken to a brothel and broken in spirit, however, the persecutors would at least break her body. So they stacked wood around her and set it on fire. Even as the tongues of flame licked her skin, the saint did not cease from preaching the word of God, so that a guardsman was finally ordered to drive his spear through her throat. To no avail. Again was some supernatural boon worked through her, for according to her biography, she went on speaking all the same. What was she seeing to cause such fixity of purpose and to receive so impossible a favor? What were her eyes witnessing, where all others saw only empty sky above? But just as one guardsman had tried to steal her voice, another now tried to take her sight. Enraged by the lofty and holy gaze of one so devout, a gaze filled with love for God, made odious to them in whom demons have made their home, the second guard unsheathed his dagger, braved the flames momentarily, and cut out both her eyes. Again, it was for naught. St. Lucia is sometimes depicted holding forth both eyes, the cutting out of which could not prevent her from the beatific vision, so the tale of her death tells us, any more than stabbing her through the throat could stop her from proclaiming the good news. The year of her martyrdom was AD 310. She was only 27 years old. Now, returning to the Scandinavian winter, the Saint Day of Lucia happens to coincide with the longest night in those northern climes, and her name matched that of the indigenous Lussi, even as it is also assonant with the Latin for light, lux, indicating the beginning of the lengthening of days. And was the catacomb of her Sicilian city, cold and dark, not a perfect image for the depth of winter, into which light was about to be brought, and whose dead were about to be rescued? Oh, and how Lucia's hands and skirts had been filled with gifts to save the lives of those who had been forced to dwell in the catacombs of Syracuse. Even as the Christmas season, which is near to St. Lucia's Day and melds with it in a single seasonal cheer, is a time for gift-giving. Finally, Lussi is a descendant of Odin, albeit this is a largely unknown element of her story, and he is known to have given an eye in return for the meed of wisdom, just as Lucia lost both eyes for her faith, and did not thereby lose even a pixel of her sight, just as being stabbed did not prevent her from a word of her preaching. Did all this not indicate that St. Lucia's story was meant for Scandinavia, that the northern peninsula was supposed to be its home, together with the southern peninsula of Italy? Surely it did, and so the fairy queen of winter, Lussi, was happy to have the new faith, and the tale of the Sicilian saint banish the demonic elements which had occluded her figure from the people, rectifying her and putting her day back on the calendar as a time of warmth, kindness, and piety.